right, welcome everyone to the July 26th, 2021 Zoning Hearing Master Meeting. We'll call the meeting to order. If you're able to stand, please, we'll recite the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag. Thank you. I'm Pamela Jo Hatley, and I'll be serving as the hearing officer this evening. Before we get started, if you have any noise-making devices on you, please silence them. And now I'd like to introduce Mr. Brian Grady of the Hillsborough County Development Services Department to introduce agenda changes.
Good evening. Again, for the record, Brian Grady, Hillsborough County Development Services. We do have two changes to the published agenda. The first change is on page 9 of the agenda, item D1. This is major mod application 21-0417. The applicant's New Florida Land and Sub and Southside Club LLC. Staff is requesting this item be continued to the August 16, 2021 zoning hearing master hearing. Madam Hearing Officer, there's some late filed information that was placed into the file that did not provide sufficient time for both the staff and the applicant to react to. So therefore, we're requesting this continuance in order to allow a proper review of that information in preparation for the August 16th hearing. The applicant is not objecting to the continuance.
Okay.
The other change in the agenda is just a clarification on page 5 of the published withdrawals and continuances, item A13, rezoning application PD-21-0420, Second Wave Development LLC. This is listed as an applicant requested continuance, and actually it was a staff requested continuance to the August 16, 2021 zoning hearing master hearing. That concludes the changes to the published agenda. I will now go through the published withdrawals and continuances beginning on page 4 of the agenda. First items, item A1, rezoning PD 18-0798. This application is out of order to be heard and has been continued into September 13th, 2021 zoning hearing master hearing. Item A2, major mod application 19-0521. This application is out of order to be heard and has been continued to the January 18th, 2022 zoning hearing master hearing. Item A3, rezoning PD 20-1198. This is applications being withdrawn from the zoning hearing master process. Item A4, rezoning PD 20-1377. This application is being withdrawn from the zoning hearing master process. Item A5, major mod application 21-0116. This application is being continued by the applicant to the August 16, 2021 zoning hearing master hearing. Item A6, rezoning PD 21-0220. Roading development. This application has been continued by the applicant to the August 16, 2021 zoning hearing master hearing. Item A7, rezoning PD 21-0221. This application is out of order to be heard and has been continued to the August 16, 2021 zoning hearing master hearing. Item A8, rezoning PD 21-0222. This application has been continued by staff to the August 16, 2021 zoning hearing master hearing. Item A9, major mod application 21-0227. This application is continued by the applicant to the August 16, 2021 zoning hearing master hearing. Item A10, major mod application 21-0310. This application is out of order to be heard and has been continued to the August 16, 2021 zoning hearing master hearing. Item A11, major mod application 20-0313. This application is continued by the applicant to the August 16, 2021 zoning hearing master hearing. Item A12, major mod application 21-316. This application is out of order to be heard and has been continued to the August 16, 2021 zoning hearing master hearing. Item A13, we handled as part of the changes to the agenda. Item A14, rezoning PD 21-0557. This application has been continued by the applicant to the August 16, 2021 zoning hearing master hearing. Item A15, rezoning PD 21-0558. This application is continued by the applicant to the August 16, 2021 zoning hearing master hearing. Item A16, rezoning PD 21-0560. This application will be continued by staff to the August 16, 2021 zoning hearing master hearing. Item A17, rezoning PD 21-0592. This application is out of order to be heard and has been continued to the August 16, 2021 zoning hearing master hearing. Item A18, rezoning PD 21-0626. This application is out of order to be heard and has been continued to the August 16, 2021 zoning hearing master hearing. Item A19, rezoning PD 21-0647. This application is out of order to be heard and has been continued to the August 16, 2021 zoning hearing master hearing. Item 820, rezoning PD 21-0650. This application is out of order to be heard and is continued to the August 16, 2021 zoning hearing master hearing. Item 821, rezoning PD 21-0701. This application is out of order to be heard and has been continued to the August 16, 2021 zoning hearing master hearing. Item 822, rezoning PD 21-0742. This application has been continued by staff to the August 16, 2021 zoning hearing master hearing. Item 823, rezoning PD 21-0744. This application has been continued by the applicant to the September 13th, 2021 zoning hearing master hearing. Item 824, rezoning PD 21-0745. This application is out of order to be heard and has been continued to the August 16, 2021 zoning hearing master hearing. Item 825, rezoning PD 21-0746. This application is out of order to be heard and has been continued to the August 16, 2021 zoning hearing master hearing. Item 826, major mod application 21-0747. This application is out of order to be heard and is being continued to the August 16, 2021 zoning hearing master hearing. Item 827, rezoning PD 21-0749. This application is out of order to be heard and has been continued to the August 16, 2021 zoning hearing master hearing. Item 828, rezoning standard 21-0820. This application is being withdrawn from the zoning hearing master process. Item 821, rezoning standard 21-0870. This application is out of order to be heard and has been continued to the August 16, 2021 zoning hearing master hearing. And item 830, major mod application 20-0944. This application is being continued by the applicant to the August 16, 2021 zoning hearing master hearing. That concludes all withdrawals and continuances and changes to the agenda.
Thank you, Mr. Grady. All right, I'm going to go over some meeting procedures for tonight. First of all, the agenda consists of items that require a public hearing by a hearing master before going to the Board of County Commissioners for a final decision. I will conduct a hearing on each item today and will submit a written recommendation. My written recommendation will be filed with the clerk of the board within 15 working days after the conclusion of today's public hearing. The Board of County Commissioners will consider the record of today's public hearing and my recommendation and will make a final decision on the application at a publicly noticed meeting on a date and time set by the Board of County Commissioners. The hearings today will be informal. I will ask questions related to the scope of direct testimony and may call and question witnesses as I deem appropriate. I will decide all questions of procedure. I will take evidence, but will exclude evidence that is irrelevant, immaterial, or unduly repetitious. Evidence may be presented in written form, and all testimony shall be under oath. Hearsay evidence may be used to supplement or explain other evidence, but shall not be sufficient alone to support a finding of fact unless it would be admissible over objections in a civil court action. The order of presentation shall be as follows. First, Mr. Grady will introduce each item. Then the applicant and the applicant's witnesses will have 15 minutes to present the proposal. County Development Services will have 5 minutes to present its findings and recommendations. The Planning Commission will have 5 minutes to present its findings of compliance or non-compliance with the comprehensive plan. Proponents will have 15 minutes to present arguments in support of the proposal. Opponents will have 15 minutes to present arguments against the proposal. County staff will then have 5 minutes to present any amended recommendations, and the applicant will have 5 minutes for rebuttal and summation. The 15 minutes allotted to proponents and opponents is the total time allotted among them. So if there are a number of persons who wish to speak during the 15 minutes, that time will be distributed among those persons. If there are a number of persons who wish to speak on an item, you may wish to designate a single spokesperson to represent your views. When you come to the microphone to speak, please first state your name and address for the record. The meeting is being recorded, so please speak into the microphone so your testimony can be recorded. When you're finished speaking, please see the clerk to my right to sign in for the record, and we'll need your name and address and the application number. Now I'd like to ask the county attorney's office to state the legal requirements for requesting oral argument at the public meeting where the Board of County Commissioners will make a final decision on each item.
Thank you, Madam Ringmaster. Good evening. My name is Cameron Clark, Assistant County Attorney. Tonight's public hearing is the first step of a two-step rezoning process. This hearing is a time for rezoning applicants and interested parties to present testimony and evidence. Any evidence presented tonight will become the complete factual record of each application, and no additional evidence can be introduced after the closing of each application. The second step of the rezoning process is a public meeting before the Board of County Commissioners, where the board will take a decision on each application heard tonight. Tonight's applications are scheduled to be heard by the board at September 8th, 2021 land use meeting. When considering applications, the board will only review the record created at tonight's hearing and the recommendation made by the hearing master for each application. The hearing master will file a recommendation for each application heard tonight on August 16th. The Board of County Commissioners had established a policy that directs which rezoning and major modification applications are to be placed on the consent agenda of the board's land use meeting. Applications that propose to add density outside the urban service area and applications that are on roadways with a failing level of service are not qualified for placement on the consent agenda. Applications that do not have consistent recommendations of approval or denial are also not qualified to be placed on the consent agenda. And finally, applications that have had evidence or testimony presented but provided to the record by non-applicant parties of record either prior to or at tonight's public hearing are not qualified for placement on the consent agenda. The board shall allow public testimony by parties of record at its meeting to consider the hearing master recommendation for any item on the regular agenda. Any public testimony shall be limited to the record of the proceedings before the hearing master unless additional evidence has been found admissible in accordance with Section 10.03.04D of the Land Development Code. A party of record is an individual who fits into at least one of the following four categories. First, someone who is present tonight and presents testimony or documentary evidence. Second, someone who is certified by the U.S. Postal Service as having been mailed notice of tonight's hearing. Third, someone who submitted documentary evidence to the master file at least 2 business days prior to tonight's hearing. Or fourth, someone who submitted documentary evidence by proxy at tonight's hearing. Again, the content of oral argument before the board shall be limited to the content of the testimony and other evidence submitted verbally or in writing to the hearing master tonight. It's the role of the county attorney's office to ensure that only individuals who have met these requirements are allowed to speak before the board, and to ensure that no new evidence or testimony is introduced or allowed at the board's public meeting. For these reasons, please make sure that all information you wish the board to consider at the public meeting is entered in tonight's record. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Clark. Okay, as I said, all testimony tonight must be under oath. So if you plan to speak tonight, would you please stand if you're able and raise your right hand, and I'll swear you in. Okay? And everyone who's online who plans to speak as well. Thank you. All right, do you swear the testimony you are about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes. I do.
Thank you. All right, Mr. Brady will call the first case, which is actually a remand case, which will not be heard by me, but will be heard by Land Use Hearing Officer Susan Finch. So Ms. Finch will come forward, and Mr. Brady will introduce the case.
The next item is agenda item B1, rezoning PD 20-1266. The applicant is Revistart LLC. The request is to rezone from ASO4 to a planned development. I will provide staff recommendation after presentation by the applicant.
Good evening.
You turn on the mic.
Hello. Good evening. My name is Tyler Hudson. My address is 400 North Ashley Drive, and I'm here on behalf of the applicant. Turn the Elmo. I'll just try to go back and forth. Just as a brief introduction here, this is a project that was first filed back in September of 2020. And as you know, you heard this in March of 2021. Sometimes you can summarize a land use project in a single word. And I think for this project, it probably would be concession. After the multiple rounds of comments and conversations that we've had with the county, with the Planning Commission, and internally, we have worked incredibly hard to concede as much as possible on this application. And so I'd like to walk through a little bit some of the changes that we've made since you last heard this. But first, I'd like to reorient a little bit about where and what we're talking about.
Okay, thank you.
The site's outlined in red there. You're looking at the intersection of Balm Riverview Road running kind of northwesterly, and then Rodian Road running west to east. We're dealing with a single parcel here that's just a shade under 5 acres. The site's currently vacant with, interestingly, an abandoned fish farming pond that's currently there now. You have a somewhat hybrid commercial residential use to the south. As you know, this is an area, as you may even see this evening, and we certainly see on a monthly basis, this is an area of the county that's undergoing tremendous residential growth. And what we're proposing here this evening is a very limited in scale, very limited in purpose, commercial serving neighborhood development. You can ignore that picture because that's for the other item I have tonight. What we're proposing is a 10,640 square foot single use development. The FAR we're proposing is significantly less than what is allowed in this Res 4 plan category. We're proposing a 0.05 FAR. In a second, I'll get to the comparison between what you previously saw and what we're talking about right now. But we initially proposed a 0.13 FAR. The setbacks we can talk a little bit about in detail later on. I think what's very important is that the current wetland footprint on site is going to remain as is. That's something that we spent a lot of time trying to ensure, and we were fortunately able to. This is the before picture, and you can focus on the 2 red boxes to the south, which represented buildings as part of our overall 28,000 square foot development. Those buildings are now gone, and we're locating the entirety of the development to the northern end of the parcel. There's, as you can see, significant stormwater retention on site. It's nearly 200 feet from the southern face of our building to the property to the south. It's a conceptual landscape plan showing some of the enhanced buffering that we're trying to do to accommodate and make this more compatible with the area. Okay, so now that we're a little bit reoriented on site and development considerations, this table shows some of the fairly significant changes that we've made since the last time. The first is the use. We have constrained the use from all CN uses with a couple of the standard exclusions to a single use, which is variety store retail. From a square footage standpoint, as you can see, we have a 62% reduction, and we're nowhere even close to what is the max FAR allowed in this category. From a building footprint standpoint and an overall intensity standpoint, we've gone from 3 buildings down to 1. And in the conditions that we've added, that I appreciate all Brian's work and working with us on that, we have limited store hour of operations now, and also some commitments from an architectural perspective to try to blend this more appropriately with the residential area nearby.
If I could stop you at that point, just so we don't lose this point. Thank you. The proposed use, it was previously all CN uses, as you've listed there.
Yes, ma'am.
And today, the proposal is for variety store retail.
Yes, ma'am.
What does that mean? The Land Development Code has retail convenience goods, retail shoppers goods. Is that an ITE category? Where does that term come from? And what does that mean encompassing under those uses?
Shoppers goods is what we have discussed specifically with staff. The use in terms of who the tenant is likely to be will be a variety retail store, but in the development conditions, I believe it's shoppers goods. So we're not trying to invent a brand new category. Shoppers goods is what the use would be.
Okay, thank you. Go ahead.
I mentioned that concession is probably one of the driving words that has motivated our reaction to staff comment and planning commission comments, and including your initial report. There's also a proactive element of what we're trying to do, and that is to come within the ambit of policy 22.7. 22.7 is a little bit further down from the other policies regarding commercial locational criteria. Objective, and I think it helps to zoom out for a second. Objective 22, which is where the commercial locational criteria is found below that, starts with a very simple phrase. It says to avoid commercial strip development. And that's why the commercial locational criteria exists. It's incredibly precise and technical in terms of the types of lanes, as we know. But the commercial locational criteria is not the end of the story. Policy 22.7 is there, we believe, as a catch-all to deal with situations like this. For example, the commercial locational criteria, and I can show this on the next slide, based on the type of lane intersections we have at this intersection, our compliance would start at 900 feet. We're 903 feet. We're close. But some of those quantitative standards, which the commercial locational waiver criteria are based on, we do not meet. And we are not trying to change the boundaries, things that we can't do. What we can do is make the most compatible possible development given the growth in the increased residential population of this area. One thing that I think is very significant, and it's a little blurry, but the very last 5 words of the underlined area mentions with long-term transportation improvements. If you go out to Balm River View Road and Rodine Road, you'll see that actually right now in late July, the county is having a public engagement process because there's going to be a signalization of that road. Right at the intersection right now, it's a blinking red, and there's also going to be lane widening improvements. Given that, I don't want to speculate about what our commercial locational criteria would be once that work is completed, but it's clear that the county is changing the roadways in response to this significant growth. And we believe that neighborhood serving commercial uses like this are appropriate. And this particular development has been made as absolutely compatible as possible. And the comprehensive plan is replete with references to functional communities and having neighborhood serving uses. We believe that's exactly what this is. And perhaps it did not start off in the most tailored way, but due to a lot of concessions and a lot of hard work by, I think, the property owner, the developer, but probably most importantly, county staff and the planning commission, we have a project that we believe is compatible with the land development code, and multiple departments agree: transportation, water, conservation land management, EPC. We were able to ameliorate all of their concerns. They have no objections to this. We are squarely centered on whether the concessions that we have made are sufficient to come within the ambit of policy 22.7. We respectfully believe that they are. And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have.
That was my question at this time. So thank you. I appreciate it. If you could please sign in with the clerk's office. All right, development services, please.
Madam Hearing Officer Walt, this is James Ratliff, if I may.
Yes, Mr. Ratliff, good evening.
I think I'm not sure who's queuing up to present for development services, but after they speak, if I could be recognized, I would appreciate it, just on the issue you just spoke
Absolutely. Yeah, we'll do. Good evening, Mr. Grady.
Good evening. For the record, Brian Grady, Hillsborough County Development Services Department. The property associated with the rezoning application 20-1266 has a future land use designation of Res 4. Got the future land use map up. The Res 4 plan category allows a maximum density of 4 units per acre, and non-residential intensities up to a maximum FAR of 0.25. The subject rezoning is noted by the applicant is located on the west side of Balm River View Road, north of the intersection of Balm River View Road and Rodine Road. The surrounding zoning and development pattern consists of, as noted on this map, surrounding the property, agriculture zone properties to the north zoned AS1, to the west zoned AS04, to the south AS04, and to the east AS1 across Bomboya Road. These zoning districts permit agricultural, residential, and residential support uses. Further to the southeast of the intersection of Bomboya Road and Rodine Road are zoned commercially zoned and developed parcels. The subject parcel would notice separated from those parcels by an intervening parcel developed with a single family home. As noted, the state of the applicant is requesting this rezone from AS04 to a planned development. The application was originally heard at the March 15th, 2021 zoning hearing master hearing. The applicant has requested remand in order to make changes to the request. The changes to the request were as follows. They reduced entitlements from 28,190 to 10,640 square feet. They limited the proposed uses from CN commercial neighborhood zoning district uses to a single use of a retail store. They've proposed enhanced and enlarged buffers in open space. They propose operating hours of 7 a.m. to 9 p.m. and have provided and proposed enhanced architectural design requirements for the building. The applicant has proposed has submitted revised conditions to the record, and I handed out you copies of the latest revisions to that. As noted, the subject parcel does not meet commercial location criteria, and the planning commission staff is not in support of the requested waiver to the location criteria based on concerns about the compatibility of the proposed use with the surrounding development pattern, and has found the request inconsistent. Staff acknowledges that the revised proposal, which reduces project square footage, limits uses to a single retail use, adds operating hours, and increases buffering by leaving a large majority of the site in open space, improves compatibility with the surrounding development area over the prior approval. However, staff still concurs with the planning commission's findings of inconsistency based on location criteria policies of the Hillsborough County Comprehensive Plan. The extension of commercial use at this location, despite the revised proposal, will expand the area of commercial development beyond the intersection and be in conflict with the planning objective of creating appropriate transitions of lesser intense uses between residential and non-residential uses areas of the community. Therefore, based on these considerations, staff finds the request not supportable. That concludes my presentation, and if anybody have any questions.
I don't at this time.
And I believe Mr. Ratliff wanted to speak to.
Yes, Mr. Ratliff. Good evening.
Yes, good evening. For the record, James Ratliff, Transportation Review Section of Development Services. With respect to the definition of variety store, that is an ITE land use code. It is also a term that is used in the land development code under the definition of shopper's goods. The shopper's goods, however, includes a long list of items. Now, I'm not aware whether or not, I can check real quick, but whether or not variety stores is actually defined in and of itself. But I think I heard Mr. Hudson say that they were intending to just request approval for all shoppers' goods, and we would have a problem with that because as shown on the current site plan, it's currently labeled as variety store. The trip generation analysis was looked at as variety store, which has a lower trip generation rate than some of the other uses that are considered within the shopper's goods category. So we analyzed this looking at it as a restricted use to only the variety store use. And so I did want to make that clear for the record.
I appreciate that. Just for your information, the proposed conditions that Mr. Grady just submitted to me, the first proposed condition is the development shall be permitted a maximum of 10,640 square feet of variety store retail use. This shall not include any retail convenience goods uses or any other retail shoppers goods uses as outlined in the LDC section 120100. So
okay, perfect. I wasn't sure if maybe I had misunderstood what Mr. Hudson was saying, but I wanted to just be clear that our analysis was restricted to looking at it as a variety store.
Absolutely. I appreciate that. And part of the continuance from last month was to recognize design exceptions that have been, I understand, approved. Is that correct? And to include them in your agency comments?
That is correct.
Okay. All right. Does that conclude your comments?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Let's hear from the Planning Commission.
Andrea Papandrew, Planning Commission staff. The subject property is within the residential 4 future land use category, is within the urban service area and the Riverview and South Shore.
Andrew, we lost you there for a second. Could you repeat yourself? We can hear you now. Your internet connection died out for a second.
Apologies. Can you hear me now?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, thank you. At the regularly scheduled land use public meeting on May 11, 2021, the Hillsborough Board of County Commissioners remanded the application to the June 14, 2021 zoning hearing master meeting. The remand did not identify any comprehensive plan concerns or issues and has not resulted in a change to Plan Commission staff's recommendation. The subject property does not meet commercial location criteria. A waiver has been submitted for review. According to the waiver, the locational criteria policy 22.2 requires that neighborhood serving commercial uses be located within 900 feet of the intersection node given the project's residential 4 future land use classification and proximity to a 2-lane intersection. The waiver states that the project is located 903 feet beyond the intersection node. The applicant asserts that if the site does not fall within 75% of the node, substantial measures have been taken to mitigate against adverse impacts. The waiver states that there are 2 proposed capital improvement projects at the Balm Riverview Road and Rodine Road intersection that will widen the right-of-way. The waiver cites policy 22.7, which states that the commercial locational criteria are not the only factors to be considered for approval of a neighborhood commercial or office use in a proposed activity center. Planning Commission staff acknowledges that the applicant utilizes site planning techniques that result in the commercial buildings being located adjacent to Balm Riverview Road, a collector. The applicant has improved the application and reduced the intensity of the site to 10,640 square feet. The application proposes a 20-foot buffer along the northern, southern, and western perimeters of the property. The applicant has placed a stormwater area in the northwestern corner of the site and the stormwater and floodplain compensation areas in the southwestern corner. The southern portion of the site includes a floodplain being maintained as open space with over 172 feet of separation to the residential buildings themselves. The applicant has proposed operating hours and architectural features to provide a more residential aesthetic. Staff also acknowledges that commercial general and commercial neighborhood zoning are located within 900 feet of the Rodine Road and Balm Riverview Road intersection. The parcel immediately south of the subject property has split zoning, agricultural single-family estate, and commercial general. The zoning and development pattern transitions from commercial to low-density residential, moving away from the intersection. A variety-use commercial store would disrupt the gradual transition of uses from the intersection and the overall development pattern of the residential area. While the application has attempted to move closer towards the intent of comprehensive development,
We
does
lost
not-
you there again for a second, Andrea, after comprehensive.
apologies, can you hear me now?
Yeah, you're breaking up a little bit, but we can hear you now.
Is this any better?
It's good. I think it's the internet connection, but go ahead.
Okay. Well, the application's attempted to move closer towards the intent of comprehensive plan policies through site planning. Planning Commission staff finds the proposed development does not meet the commercial locational criteria and does not fulfill the intent of Objective 16 and Policies 16.1, 16.2, and 16.3 of the future land use element. The site does not fall within 900 feet of the Balm Riverview and Rodine Road intersection. Per the comprehensive plan, at least 75% of the subject property must fall within the specified distance from the intersection. All measurements should be done at the edge of the road or right-of-way. At the point of 75% of the subject property, the site is approximately 1,300 feet outside the node. The site does not meet commercial locational criteria requirements. The request for a variety store use would disrupt the gradual transition to the single-family lots located immediately to the north and west of the subject site, and undermine Objective 16 and its policies of the future land use element. While Planning Commission staff acknowledges that proposed site planning techniques help to mitigate impacts to residential uses and moves closer to the intent of the comprehensive plan, a site meeting commercial locational criteria never guarantees the approval of a commercial use per policy 22.7. An application that does not meet the criteria must demonstrate in its proposal how it will further the goals, objectives, and policies of the comprehensive plan. Policy 22.7 identifies several considerations that carry more weight than commercial locational criteria, including land use compatibility. The request for a commercial land use outside of the established node does not fulfill the intent of Policy 22.7. The request would not contribute to a gradual transition of uses within the area. The site is located within the residential district of the Riverview Community Plan area, which has a primarily residential development pattern. The Riverview Community Plan also requires the provision of appropriate and compatible buffers and transitions to existing adjacent land uses, particularly with agricultural operations and the lands acquired for preservation or open space. While locating the building close to the roadway, 60 feet from the residential lots to the north, over 172 feet from the south residential properties, and locating the stormwater facilities to the west helps to mitigate for impacts to single-family residential lots The request for commercial use will disrupt the gradual transition from commercial to residential from the Rudian Road and Bond Riverview intersection. Planning Commission staff recommends that the Hillsborough Board of County Commissioners not approve the waiver to
We lost you again there, Andrea.
towards meeting the intent of the plan through site planning and buffering.
Andrea, can you hear us?
Yes, I'm sorry, did it go out again?
Yeah, just about 10 seconds ago.
Okay, apologies. Planning Commission staff acknowledges the application is moved closer towards meeting the intent of the plan through site plan and buffering, architectural enhancements, additional open space, hours of operation, and a reduction in intensity. The proposed plan development request for variety retail store use would not provide an appropriate and compatible transition to the single-family residential land uses and low-density agricultural single-family estate and agricultural single-family zoning immediately adjacent to the site and within the general area. The request is not consistent with the Riverview Community Plan. Based on the above considerations, Planning Commission staff finds the proposed plan development inconsistent with the future of Hillsborough Comprehensive Plan for unincorporated Hillsborough County. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony. I appreciate it. All right, this time we'll call for anyone that would like to speak in support. Anyone in favor of this project? Seeing no one in the room, no one virtually, I understand. All right. Anyone who would like to speak against the application? Yes. How many do we have in the room that would like to speak? Come forward, sir. Are you the only person that would like to speak? That's all I see.
Sure, I'd love to say something.
Okay, absolutely. If you could give us your name and
My name
address.
is Dennis Fackler, and I live at 11808 Bomb Riverview Road, directly across the street from this proposed project. Currently, we have such traffic problems out there because the road infrastructure is so inadequate. Traffic backs up almost 100 cars deep each evening and morning. It takes me as long as 15 minutes to get out of my driveway. And this is directly across the street from me. We don't have water or sewage service. It's terrible. And not only that, this land property is zoned AS4, agricultural, single family, 1/4 acres. Directly across the street where I live is AS1, agricultural, single family, 1 acre. If you build this project, you're going to destroy my property values and everybody else along that street. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. If you could please sign in with the clerk's office. Ma'am, would you like to say something? Just give us your name and address to begin, please.
My name is Zoe Fackler. Our address is 11808 Bomb Riverview Road. And as my husband pointed out, our driveway is literally across the street from where this new driveway would be. To begin with, Bomb Riverview Road from 301 all the way to Rodine Road is only rated for vehicles 2 axles or less. Putting a variety store in would require trucks 2 axles or more to use these roads, and they're simply not built for them. Installing the light at Rodine Road and Bomb Riverview Road is going to be used to mainly control traffic that is heading east and west on Rodine Road because of all the new developments up and down Rodine Road, not on Bomb Riverview. Bomb Riverview is just a side thought as far as the signal goes. As far as the use of the road by a variety store and all the traffic it would bring, as it is right now, the speed limit on Bomb Riverview Road is 45 miles an hour. I'm going to be taking a petition to have that lowered to 30 miles an hour. The only other variety store or retail store that you guys have approved is actually kind of like a fresh food market at the corner of McMullen Loop and Bomb Riverview Road. Within 4 months of those doors opening, we had a motorcycle fatality right in front of the store. Traffic, whoever did it, somebody decided to put a concrete berm down the middle of Bomb Riverview, and this is only a two-lane road. There was no notice of the new construction. There was no notice of the diversion of traffic, and that's what caused the accident, and it ended up killing someone. This road is not meant for any more traffic. I realize there's bad traffic all over Hillsborough County, but it's from homes. It's not from retail and commercial properties. this type of store simply is not compatible with our neighborhood. Not in what it's going to bring to the neighborhood, or serve to the residents, or even the use of the infrastructure that's already in place. But thank you.
Thank you for your time and coming down. Could you please sign in with the clerk's office? All right, anyone else that would like to speak in opposition to this application? All right, seeing none, county staff, anything further? Mr. Grady? Nothing. Mr. Hudson, you have 5 minutes for rebuttal.
Thank you, Madam Hearing Master. Tyler Hudson, 400 North Ashley Drive. First, appreciate staff correcting my error on variety retail store. That is the only use that is listed on the site plan. So we're very, very clear about that. With first respect to the Planning Commission, there's been a lot of focus, I think, on policy 22.2, which is the commercial locational criteria. We have sought a waiver, which is very custom practice for county projects right now. But our focus is independent of that on policy 22.7, which again has essentially a catch-all for compatible development. We have done, I think, nearly everything that one could do for a site like this. And so to the extent that we're focused on failure to meet commercial locational criteria, we acknowledge that. That's why we filed the waiver. But independent of the waiver, we believe that there has been substantial and competent evidence presented by the nature of the site plan itself and the cumulative changes between this and the initial application, that this is a narrowly tailored, extremely specific, and compatible development. I'd like to note one thing. I think Andrea mentioned the phrase disruptive on a few occasions. This is in the material that I introduced into the record, Madam Hearing Master, in which Mr. Streeter has a copy of for your consideration. Those white boxes all outline various commercial developments that are already there or that are coming. For example, at the northwest corner of Balm Riverview and Rodine Road. So to say that it's, I mean, just to be clear, our site is northwest of the intersection that you see on screen.
Mr. Hudson, can you point to your property? I understand we're having trouble zooming in on that. Okay, so the commercial development, I'm assuming those white boxes are indicating commercial properties?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. So what commercial properties are around your property?
So right here, due east, you have a professional office as well as a daycare center. And then at the northwest corner of Balm Riverview Road and Rodine Road, there is, I believe, a CVS in the process of being sited there. And then due south of us, there is a home that is, so the property is part home and part automobile repair facility. So that's also a commercial site that's just to our south.
And is that the white box? We'll have to talk through this because I can't see it. But is that the white box that's north of Rodine? Oh, I understand where you are. Is that what you're talking about?
No, what I just pointed at and what I'll point to right now is auto repair.
All right. And that property is AS 0.4?
Correct.
I see. Okay.
That property is CG. So that just to orient, that's where we are. With respect to the opposition testimony, residential 4 in the comprehensive plan does permit commercial neighborhood serving uses. If that is seen as inappropriate by the commission or by a resident, there are options to change that to perhaps an even less dense, more rural category that would not prohibit any retail development at all or any neighborhood commercial serving use. But given the significant proliferation of homes in this area, we believe is appropriate, and the comprehensive plan recognizes the appropriateness in limited circumstances of commercial serving neighborhood uses. We believe this property and this project has been winnowed down to the absolute barest of bones that does make it compatible with the residential uses in the area. With respect to the specific traffic concerns and some of the observed difficulties out there, acknowledge that. That's a pervasive issue. Transportation funding and transportation issues are a pervasive issue in this county. I would say with respect to this particular intersection, the fact that the Balm Riverview Road and Rodine Road intersection is set for improvements, including widening, which will have an effect on capacity and traffic flow, I think that it's material to your consideration of this very narrow commercial proposal before you. And with that, thank you for your time.
Thank you for your time and testimony. With that, we'll close rezoning 20-1266, and I'll turn the hearing back over to Hearing Master Hadley. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Finch. All right. On to the next item, Mr. Grady.
Yes, the next item is, again, just for the record, D1 was continued. That's to the August 16th zoning hearing master hearing. That was item D1. So now we'll take up item D2. That's rezoning PD 21-0422. The applicant's Clint Cuffle. The request is rezoned from PD, 2 PDs and AR to planned development. Israel Monsanto will provide staff recommendation after presentation by the applicant.
All right, thank you. Applicant, please.
Thank you. Name's Clint Cuffle with WRA Engineering, Principal, 4260 West Lineball Avenue. I do have a PowerPoint presentation to provide, and I'll provide Michael a hard copy after.
Okay.
You can bring it up. This is known as a Utopia Glamp Grounds. It's a high-end campground type development. You can go to the next slide, please. Just a quick summary. It's a reuse, right? Currently on the site is Lupton's Boggy Bottom Event Ranch. It's on the same project site. It's consistent with the comprehensive plan. And who I have with me, I have Ms. Marilyn Tremblay with the Utopia Chief Development Officer, and also have Michael Yates with Palm Traffic, and I'll introduce them here a little bit to go over some very specifics of the project. The approach to the development is a low impact development, green development, all pervious pavement within the paving areas. And it is to site these campsites out in the woods, you know, in very, very green type pedestrian friendly site plan. We currently have no staff objections, and we have support from the community, which you'll see here in a little bit. And then I want to go ahead and go to the next slide, and I'll go ahead and introduce Ms. Marilyn Tremblay, the Chief Development Officer for Utopia.
Thank you.
All right, well, while that's being worked out. My name is Marilyn Trombley. I'm the Chief Development Officer for Utopia North America. Our mission as
we need your address too, please.
Sorry, my address. Okay, my address is 4435 Andre Laurento, Montreal, Quebec. And so our Utopia, we're a glamping company. We do glamping campgrounds. Our main mission is really to conceive, build, and operate a variety of high comfort glamping accommodations. For us, it's really important to have that operate part in there. It's just so that people understand, you know, we don't just develop these and then we disappear. We still operate every single campground that we've developed from the beginning. And so we're really there from the beginning to the end. The second point in our mission is really to provide our guests with an eco-responsible experience in direct contact with nature. We're what's very important to our business is for our guests to really understand the environment that they're in, to really feel that environment and really to understand and to learn about it at the same time. For us, that's really central to the guest experience. And the final point that we like to bring forward when we develop these projects in communities is that we do contribute to, we try and contribute as much as possible to local development. So we hire all local workforce during construction, and then during operation, obviously we create jobs, but we also work with local activity providers and local product providers to supply our restaurant and camp store. And so we like to have the farm to table approach to our small bistro that serves the guests. And so we do try and partner with a lot of local businesses as well. We're a family company. We're not only family operated, but we're also family oriented. So our company was founded in 1999 by Céline and Philippe Bossan. They're still at the head of the company today. Can you move to the next slide? They're still at the head of the company today, and they're still very much involved actually in our day-to-day business. So we're really happy to see that after 20 years, they're still very much involved in all of the aspects of the business. Even though we are a family company, we have grown to over 1,000 employees. We have over 60 campgrounds all over the world. Our main headquarters is in Lyon, in France. That's where the company was founded. And then we have the headquarters of Utopia North America in Montreal. And we have our Asian headquarters in Shanghai. And then when I say we're family oriented, it's because we're opening up glamping to families. You know, glamping, when you think of glamping, I know it's very recent, so not many people think of glamping, but when you think of glamping, you think of that one unit in that little paradise with that little glass of wine with your significant other, and it's very romantic and you're alone in the world. But really us, what we're all about is families. That picture, that's what we're all about. So all of our units are really for families. All of the activities are for families. We're very much family oriented. And so in North America, we have 4 operating resorts right now. And that will move to 5 very shortly. We opened in 2015, the first one in Quebec in Canada. In 2017, we followed that up with the White Mountains in New Hampshire. In 2019, Southern Maine. In 2021, so actually we opened in May of this year, the Adirondacks in New York. We're very happy about that, near Lake George. And in just over 3 weeks from now, we'll be opening our project in Paradise Springs, California, in LA County, so in the Angeles National Forest. In 2022, we have a second project in California that's past land entitlement that's currently in construction permitting. It's on a vineyard in Northern California. And then hopefully also for 2022, but maybe later in the year, maybe more December 2022, we're hoping for Plant City, Florida. So like I said earlier, we contribute to local development. We're actually kind of the opposite of an all-inclusive, and I really feel like I need to mention that because I know, you know, when people think of these planned developments where there's a lot of units and stuff, you think that, you know, maybe people just come to a property and don't really get involved in the community, but that's really the opposite of what we do. We offer actually very little in the way of on-site activities. We did some studies in our campgrounds in Europe that show that for every $1 spent at a Utopia, $3 are spent in the local community. We actually encourage our guests to go discover all the activities in the area through a kind of concierge service at the front desk. And so we partner with local activity providers, we showcase their activities, and we really, you know, we want our guests to get out there and discover the region. So like I said earlier, we partner with a lot of local producers. On average, we partner with about 25, 30 local producers to service our restaurant and the camp store. And then obviously we create jobs. Just to give you an idea of numbers, we create over 50 jobs in construction, and that's over 50 because in the Adirondacks it was actually closer to 80. And so that's plumbers, electricians, carpenters, all trades. And then during operations, it becomes about 30 jobs. Obviously, a lot of those are seasonal, although here the season would be very long. We do have about 10 permanent positions that are, reasonable jobs, well-paying jobs for the community. So we're pretty happy when we get a lot of locals working at our campgrounds. So the PD that we're looking for is at Lumpton, is actually a very well-known property, I think, because every time I mention the names, someone always has a story about it. And I think we have a lot to thank Mr. Lupton back there for, because I think in the region, it's been a place that's made a lot of memories for a lot of people. So it's Lupton's Boggy Bottom Event Ranch. It's at the corner, it's on West Keysville Road. So yeah, that's the property right there. You can see it there. It's currently an event ranch. It's operated as an event ranch. There's really, really large scale events there right now. Less than before, but still, they're still doing some events and weddings. And so it's hosted hundreds of people at once. So we can move on to the next slide. Our project vision, we want to really, this is a picture from the site, and we just fell in love with the forest when we saw it there. Like I said earlier, one of our big points for guest experience is really to learn about nature and really to integrate with nature. And so when we saw the forest here and we saw what Mr. Lupton, how he kept up the property and how he stewarded the property, we were very impressed, and that's really what drew us to it. So our project vision is really to develop glamping accommodations, a maximum of 130 glamping tents and cabins. Obviously, a couple of amenities for the guests. There's a restaurant, but I think restaurant's a pretty strong word. It's more of a bistro because all we serve is light fare. So it's kind of limited. People usually want to go out to other restaurants as well. And it's for guests only. We also have a camp store for essentials, a pool, kids play area, outdoor spa, and employee housing. So the kids play area is pretty much already there, which is great. A lot of the amenities are already there. There's already an outdoor pavilion that we would reuse for our central location. And then another really important point is that our projects are all pedestrian centered. So basically, we don't allow cars on our campgrounds. So really, people park their cars on the outskirts of the campgrounds in pre-designed parking, pre-planned parking spaces. And then they walk to all the units. We provide them with little like Red Racer type carts where they can carry their luggage, and they have to walk to all this on-site amenities as well. So we develop a pretty extensive pedestrian-only access trail network. And that's something that's really important for us as well in terms of guest experience. A minimal infrastructure is a big thing for us. So all of our units are designed to preserve the natural aspect of the site and to promote reversibility. So we keep them as light as possible so that we try and avoid a heavy foundation, so that if we ever had to pack up and leave, which hasn't happened, thankfully, ever in the past 20 years, but if we did, we could have the ground revert back to its original use. And obviously all of our units are hand assembled, so we don't require machinery to build them. And so that also allows us to actually select every tree that we're going to have to cut to put a unit so that it's really nestled in the trees. We love preserving trees as much as possible and having them really up close to our units. So that really allows us to do that. And so that's it in terms of the project vision. And I think, and then, yes, sorry, the last slide that I'm going to speak to is the public outreach that we did, because I did that personally. We did 2 public information sessions for the neighbors. We sent noticings in the mail, and we had those on September 24th, 2020 and March 24th, 2021. We like to really get to know our neighbors. We do this with all our projects. We feel like it's a really big part of being a good neighbor is to introduce ourselves and to see what people's concerns can be, what things they want to talk about. I also did some individual presentations to the Cedar Grove Baptist Church, which is a neighbor of ours, Mosaic, which is also a neighbor of ours, the Alafia Ridge Estates Board of Directors, who are not direct neighbors, but are in our neighborhood. And then obviously I've reached out by phone to a lot of the immediate neighbors, namely the 3 that we share the Lupton Place access to. I've had many conversations with them. Throughout all of this public outreach, we've only found one big concern, well, one concern that we addressed, and that was one of our direct neighbors wanted to make sure that our future guests could not feed his horses. And so we readily agreed to build a 6-foot high solid fence along his property line. And I think that was really the main, the only real issue that came out of those discussions. Otherwise, I think we're really happy with the way those discussions went, and we're really happy to have good neighbors. Okay, so I'll hand it back off to Clint to talk about the specifics.
Thank you. You have 2 minutes left.
Okay, I'll go quick. Here's the, up on the screen right now, again, Clint Cuffle, WRA 4260 West Linebaugh Avenue, Tampa, Florida. This is the PD in front of you. A couple highlights here. The fence she was talking about, the 6-foot solid fence, is in the northwest corner. It's highlighted in red on the screen. The neighbor to the north is the one that had the horses that didn't want anybody feeding his horses. The allowed density right now, per the comp plan, is 530 campers and 4 on-site dwelling units. One thing to note is we do have a traffic design exception approval, and we are going to move that 4 dwelling units down to 2. It was a little bit misinterpretation, but we only need 2 dwelling units on site with the 530 campers. Also, all the wetlands that you see on site have all been delineated and approved by SwiftMud, so there's no modifications following this zoning application. One thing to note is all the proposed roads and trails and everything will be made out of permeable surfaces. So, like I said, it's a very green development. And then I'm going to hand it over to Mr. Michael Yates with Palm Traffic, go over the traffic real quick.
Hi, Michael Yates, Palm Traffic, and I have been sworn. Just real quick on transportation, we did a transportation analysis, submitted that. It's a pretty low trip generator, 40 PM peak hour trips, 30 AM PM peak hour trips. Keysville Road operates at acceptable level of service. Level of service C, we're about 30% of capacity. Next slide, please. And then we did 2 administrative variances, one for Keysville Road, and then the second for Lumpton Place. Lumpton Place serves 3 residential homes to the north and provides cross access for them. Both of those have been reviewed by Public Works staff and found approvable on July 14th. And I'll let Clint finish up and close up.
Thanks, Michael. Again, that concludes our presentation, but just a summary real quick. It's consistent with the comp plan. It's a modification of an existing PD, similar type uses for the Boggy Bottom Ranch. Staff has no objections. We worked with staff and we appreciate their support.
All right.
Thank you. Any questions, we're here to answer.
Thank you. And just need you all to sign in with the clerk's office. All right, Development Services.
Good evening, Israel Monsanto Development Services. I will share my screen in a few seconds. Let me know if I need to swap, which
You
I
do need to swap.
All right. Is that okay?
All good.
Thanks. Again, Israel Monsanto Development Services. This is a rezoning 210422. The applicant seeks to rezone multiple parcels, currently zoned agricultural, rural, and 2 planned developments to a new planned development to allow the subject site to redevelop as a campsite. The proposed PD district will be more or less 160 acres in size and is located in Plant City. The subject site is also in the rural service area. The PD will affect portion of land zone plan development, and therefore there are 2 associated minor modifications that will be heard concurrently with this rezoning at the Board of County Commissioners meetings in September. Those 2 minor modifications will be to remove the land being rezoned to this new PD. The site is within 3 different future land uses categories, which allow a very low residential densities and a maximum floor area ratio of 0.25 for non-residential development. Surrounding areas have similar future land uses, as you can see in the screen. The area today generally consists of sites zoned agricultural, developed with single-family homes and farmland. Portion of land north, east, and south are zone plan development approved for mining. Portion of the subject sites are zone PD 860113 approved for a commercial ranch event center, recreational facility with a restaurant and shop. And the site has a dining pavilion with a kitchen and playground areas. The ranch is not fully operational today, although there are some activities, as the applicant stated, going on, and the restaurant facility was never fully built. The applicant intends to redevelop the site again as a 130-unit camp and use existing buildings and amenities. Of the 160 acres of land, about 62.5 acres are wetlands. The project will utilize wetland credits in order to calculate the maximum camp capacity allowed, the number of campers. Per the Land Development Code, Section 61120, for purposes of calculating density, every 10 campers constitute one dwelling unit based on the calculation data provided by the applicant and reviewed by Development Services staff and also by the Planning Commission. The maximum units permitted on site will be 57. The project would include 4 residents for employment and staff. However, as the applicant stated, there will be only 2 employees residences at this moment due to transportation administrative variances only approving a maximum of 2 staff residences. There will be a staff report updated, handed out with a condition number 1 being amended. Instead of 4 residents, it will be only 2 residences. The remaining 53 units are being converted to accommodate 530 campers maximum. The PD district will retain the existing buildings to be repurposed for the future campsite, and the main access points will be on driveway will also be maintained. The main access will be off West Keysville Road to the south, and there's going to be a cross access to the north, which is this existing Lupton Drive here, to get to the 4 existing homes to the north. There is also an additional connection here for future residents in this area here. The PD variations, there is a PD variation requested by the applicant, and this is to eliminate the required type B screening along the perimeter of the project adjacent to agricultural and residential uses. The applicant proposes utilization of existing natural vegetation in lieu of the required screening, and per the proposed site plan, a 50-foot buffer will be provided. Section 606 of the Land Development Code lists residential and agricultural uses as Group 1. A camp will be treated as a commercial use given its operational characteristics with lodging and amenities. Therefore, it has been determined that it would fall under Group 5, and a 20-foot buffer with Type B screening will be required. Although the camp use may be more intense than the surrounding agricultural or residential uses, the provision of a 50-foot buffer with existing vegetation would reduce impacts against adjacent properties. Additionally, the applicant will provide a solid fence, as stated, along the northwest of the site to screen from the adjacent parcel. Staff finds these justifications by the applicant to be reasonable. The statements submitted by the applicant for these variations meet the criteria of approval per Land Development Code Section 50306C6. The hearing master recommendation for this application is required to include a finding on whether the requested variations meet the criteria for approval. Transportation staff also reviewed the administrative variances for road improvement and found them approvable. Staff finds the project with the proposed development standards, scale, and restrictions compatible with the area. The proposed intensity is compatible with nearby agricultural, forest, and residential uses. Per the proposed general site plan and conditions, the activity areas will be placed central to the site, which includes the eating establishment, event center, playgrounds, and pool, etc. This area will be screened by extensive vegetation and wetlands from adjacent parcels. The campsites will be distributed within the site and interconnection with a trail system. The structures will be no taller than 25 feet, which is less than the permitted height. In adjacent zoning districts, all existing and proposed structure will be placed at least 50 feet from the project boundaries, and only one existing residence will be located closer to the property line. The buffer will be a critical design feature, and changes will be considered a major modification. No wetland impacts is being proposed, and required wetland setbacks will be maintained. The number and size of building will be minimal compared to the size of the site and densities capped by the future land use classifications. No outdoor night activities are proposed, therefore reducing negative impacts to nearby residents and properties. Transportation staff did not object to the request, and the Planning Commission found the petition consistent with the comprehensive plan. We received no objection from other reviewing agencies, and based on all these considerations, staff recommends approval with conditions. And I'm available if you have any questions.
No questions. Thank you. All right, we'll hear from the Planning Commission.
Andrea Papandreou, Planning Commission staff. The subject property is within the residential 1, agricultural mining, and agricultural rural future land use categories. It is within the rural service area and is not located within the community plan. The development will retain existing access to East Keysville Road and internal roadway access to the site via Lupton Place to East Keysville Road for the property. In addition, the applicant proposes to add internal driveways and parking facilities for fire and rescue vehicles and for campers. The parking facilities and internal driveways will be off Lupton Place roadway and are limited to the areas shown on the site plan. Per future land use element policy 8.8, projects whose boundaries include more than one land use category, density and intensity calculations allow for the blending of those categories across the entire project. The 159.7 acre site contains 39% of wetland and environmentally sensitive areas. Per policy 13.3, the environmentally sensitive land credit, if wetlands are 25% or greater of the acreage of the site, density and intensity is calculated.
We lost you there after density and intensity.
Yep, sorry about that. Density intensity is calculated based on the upland acreage of the site multiplied by 1.25. The resulting acreage is available to calculate density intensity based on the maximum allowed for the future land use category. For this site, 97.2 acres is upland, multiplied by 1.25 equals 121.5 acres to calculate density and intensity. For this site, a blending of densities allows for up to 57 maximum dwelling units. Per the Land Development Code, a dwelling unit equals 10 campers. The applicant proposes residential buildings for staff, which is included in the maximum dwelling units. This leaves the applicant with up to 530 campers or 33 dwelling units. And the applicant is asking for the maximum allowed 530 campers with 130 cabins and tents. The subject property is beyond the distance to meet commercial locational criteria. The nearest folio extends over 2,000 feet from the South County Road 39 and East Keysville Road intersection, and the maximum distance is 660 feet. The site does not meet commercial locational criteria as outlined in policy 22.2. A commercial locational criteria is waivers required per policy 22.8. The applicant has submitted a waiver that states that the proposed use is compatible with the surrounding area. Proposed project will reuse the existing buildings and function like the existing use, a destination event center with short-term visitors. The applicant has also stated that the proposed project will keep the natural buffering and screening in place, and the cabins and tents will be built within the existing natural landscape. Policy 16.1 requires established neighborhoods to be protected by limiting commercial development in residential land use categories to neighborhood scale and requiring buffer areas and screening devices between unlike land uses. Policy 16.2 requires gradual transitions of intensities between different land uses to be provided for as new development is proposed and approved. The applicant is proposing a campground that emphasizes preserving the natural environment and has agreed to meet or exceed the type B buffer, 20-foot buffer required on up to 50 feet of the existing forests and wetlands to be preserved. In addition, there are no proposed campgrounds or activity centers that are close to the east or west boundaries and a natural wetlands that provide an additional buffer. The applicant's use of buffering and screening go beyond what was required and meets the intent of Objective 16 and its policies per the comprehensive plan. Planning Commission staff recommends that the Hillsborough Board of County Commissioners approve the waiver for commercial locational criteria. The 50-foot buffering and screening is essential to meet neighborhood compatibility policies. The conditions of approval will require the buffering and screening areas to be designated a critical design feature.
We did lose you again for a second. I'm not sure if you hear us. If you can hear us, go ahead and turn off your camera. That should help now.
Is that better?
That should be better. Hopefully we could get there.
Can you hear me now?
We can, go ahead.
Okay. Based upon the above considerations, Planning Commission staff finds the proposed plan development consistent with the feature of Hillsborough Comprehensive Plan for unincorporated Hillsborough County, subject to the conditions proposed by the Development Services Department. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, are there any persons here in the audience or online who wish to speak in favor of this application? Any proponents who wish to speak to this application? Don't see any. Are there any persons here or online who wish to speak in opposition to this application? All right, don't see any. Development Services, any changes, amended recommendations?
No changes. will note that we did hand out a revised staff report that changed that condition regarding the number of on-site residences. Thank you.
Thank you. I have that. Applicant, anything further?
No, we're good.
Okay. All right, thank you. All right, we will close the hearing then on item 21-0422.
The next item is item D3, rezoning PD 21-0551. The applicant is Maggie Rogers with Catholic Charities, Diocese of St. Petersburg. The request is rezoned from commercial general and a plan development to a new plan development. Israel Monsanto will provide staff recommendation after presentation by the applicant.
All right, applicant, please.
Good evening, Zoning Hearing Master. My name is Tu Mai of HT Mai Inc. Address is 14031 North Del Mabry Highway, Tampa, Florida 33618. I'm here representing the applicant. The petition in front of you tonight is a request to rezone a parcel having folio 055714 from CG to PD. Total land is 2.37 acres with a future land use of OC 20. It's located at 1308 North US Highway 41 in Ruskin. Currently, the property is zoned commercial general and has mixed use consisting of a 2,982 square feet motel with 11 rooms, a 1,424 square feet single-family home, a 4,224 square feet self-service car wash with 5 bays, and an 884 square feet service repair shop. 2 mobile homes consisting of 1,056 square feet each and 3,200 square feet storage building. The subject site has a right-in and right-out driveway on US 41 for the motel use. There are 2 driveways on First Street Northwest for the car wash and service repair shop use, with an existing transit stop in front of the subject site on US 41, which will service the project. The applicant is seeking to rezone the property to a planned development for mixed uses consisting of 63 affordable housing units, an 884 square foot laundromat for residents use only, a 2,500 square foot professional services, family support services, gift shop, bookstore, and public use facilities to meet the Ruskin Community Plan guidelines for commercial corridor on US 41. Internal connectivity and cross-access is to adjacent properties and or roadways will be provided. The applicant is proposing the following: 3 pedestrian connectivity to US 41, which includes a direct sidewalk to the existing Hart bus stop for Route 31. 1 pedestrian connectivity to First Street Northwest. 2 pedestrian connectivity to the south properties, which is the daycare and the gas station and convenience store. 1 pedestrian connectivity to the north property, which is the Dollar Tree, which isn't shown on the current site plan, but will be shown at site plan certification. 1 vehicle cross access to the south property, which is the daycare, and an administrative variance was requested for vehicular cross access to the convenience store and gas station. This request was found approvable by the county engineer. Also, an administrative variance was requested for the vehicular cross access at the existing stub out to the north parcel, which is a Dollar Tree. This request was found approvable since the existing motel structure is currently being used as rental units. Demolition of the motel structure to create room for the cross-access connection would be a big financial hardship. However, the applicant agrees that in the future, if the existing structure is demolished, then a vehicular cross-access will be established. In addition, the applicant is requesting a density bonus to 30 dwelling units per acre to conform to LDC Section 61107C. Since the project is joined and funded by the Hillsborough County Affordable Housing Department and the Diocese of St. Petersburg, Affordable Housing Services has determined the project does qualify for the density bonus. The director of AHS has submitted a letter of support for this petition, which was included in the staff report. To conclude, we received no objections from the review agencies. We concur with staff's findings of the request as approvable. We respectfully request your recommendation to approve this rezoning. Thank you to Development Services and Planning Commission staff, and thank you to you.
Thank you. Okay, we'll hear from Development Services, please.
Good evening, Israel Monsanto Development Services. We'll start my presentation shortly. Is that okay?
Looks good.
Again, Israel Monsanto Development Services. This is application PD 210551 in Ruskin. The applicant, Catholic Charities Diocese of St. Petersburg, seeks to rezone a 2.37 acre site, currently zoned commercial general, to a new planned development to allow an affordable housing project with a non-residential component. The proposed PD district is located in Ruskin and it is in the urban service area. The site is within the future land use category of Office Commercial 20, which allows up to 20 dwelling units per the acre, and a floor area ratio of 0.35 for non-residential development. Surrounding areas have similar future land uses of OC 20, north and south. The applicant has requested a density bonus, as stated, under the Comprehensive Plan Housing Element Objective 3.6 and Policy 3.6.1 to increase the density up to 30 dwelling units per the acre. The proposed project meets the criteria to qualify for an affordable housing infill density bonus, which has to be 5 acres or less in size, being one of the residential or commercial land uses, categories allowing 6 or more dwelling units to the acre, and serviced by public water and sewer and have direct access to public streets. The area today generally consists of sites zoned for commercial uses, developed with gas stations, bank, retail, daycare, a storage facility, and a church campus. The subject site today consists of a motel, some residential units, a car wash, and a repair shop on site. The proposed project will be an affordable housing mixed use with a density bonus specifically consisting of a maximum of 63 multifamily units and a non-residential area of 0.24 acres with up to 3,384 square feet of building space associated with affordable housing development. As part of the application, the applicant submitted documentation to demonstrate compliance with the Land Development Code, Section 61107, for affordable housing development. The County Affordable Housing Services Department has determined the project does qualify for a density bonus per LDC Section 61107 and the future land use element of the comprehensive plan. In order to meet the Ruskin Community Plan commercial corridor provision, the project will provide non-residential uses along US Highway 41 to the east of the project. These uses will be limited to a laundromat, professional services, family support services, gift shop, book, stationery store, public use or public use facilities. Plan Development District will retain the existing motel building to be redeveloped in the future in accordance with the proposed PD conditions. The site will have an access point of US Highway 41 to the east and a second access from 1st Street Northwest to the west. Transportation staff will also review an administrative variances request for vehicular cross-access and has found it approvable. Due to the site layout and existing motel to remain in place, transportation staff has proposed conditions to address future improvements of the site, including the provision of the vehicular connection to the north to connect to the existing Dollar Tree stop out on this location. And this vehicular connection to the north will be required in the event building A1, which is the current motel building with this L shape, is demolished in part or in whole in the future. Staff finds that the affordable housing mixed-use project and complex with its non-residential component is compatible with the area. The multifamily buildings will be placed 30 feet from First Street northwest along the west and provide open space areas between the project and larger lots to the west, while the non-residential uses will be located to the east. Conditions are being proposed, restricting the site to Land Development Code Section 61107. Maximum number of units will be 63 and listing the non-residential uses. The project is consistent with the provision of the comprehensive plan and regulation of the Land Development Code, meeting the criteria set forth in that Land Development Code sections to receive the density bonus. The surrounding area consists of a variety of non-residential land uses along a major commercial corridor. And as stated, the project has been reviewed by Hillsborough County Affordable Housing Services and finds that it meets the criteria for approval. No objections were received from other reviewing agencies, and based on all these considerations, the staff supports this request with conditions. And I'm available if you have any questions.
All right, thank you. We'll hear from Planning Commission.
Andrea Papathrew, Planning Commission staff. The subject property is within the Office Commercial 20 future land use category. It is within the urban service area and is located within the Ruston and South Shore community plans. The intent of Office Commercial 20 is to recognize existing commercial and office centers and provide for future development opportunities. New retail development should be part of a mixed-use development or be clustered at the intersection of major roadways. Retail usage should be discouraged outside of these nodes. The category allows for a maximum of 20 dwelling units per acre. The proposed residential and commercial uses are consistent with the Office 20 future land use category. The request provides an opportunity for affordable housing and commercial development and complements the development pattern within the area. The comprehensive plan encourages higher intensity uses and density along collectors and arterials. The property is located on and accessed to the east via US Highway 41 arterial. The site is also accessed to the west via First Street Northwest, a collector. The request is consistent with Objective 16 and Policy 16.1, 16.2, and 16.5. The request is also consistent with Objective 20, Policy 20.1, 20.2, Objective 23, and Policy 23.5, the future land use element. In the Office Commercial 20 future land use category, the affordable housing density bonus allows the applicant to achieve a maximum density of 30 dwelling units per acre, which is the next highest future land use category. In a memo dated June 4th, 2021.
Andrew, can you hear us? We lost you there for a second.
Apologies for that. In a memo dated June 4th, 2021, Cheryl Howell, the Director of Affordable Housing Services, issued comments in support of the proposed rezoning. In collaboration with Planning Commission, Hillsborough County Development Services Department, and Hillsborough County Affordable Housing staff, it has been determined that the requirements in Section 6.11.07 of the Land Development Code have been satisfied. It has been determined that the requirements of the housing element of the future of Hillsborough Comprehensive Plan have been satisfied. Policy 6 in the housing element seeks to ensure the compatibility of the proposed project in the context of existing community. A light commercial parcel is located to the north, a light commercial property and daycare are located to the south, and single-family lots are located to the west across First Street Northwest. The request is compatible with their surrounding area and is consistent with Policy 6. Housing element comprehensive plan policy 3.6.1 states that density bonuses will be utilized as an incentive to encourage the development of more affordable housing. The proposed project is consistent with this policy as it meets all the requirements outlined in the comprehensive plan housing element, as well as land development code requirements for the affordable housing density bonus. The subject site is located within the limits of the Ruskin Community Plan. Goal 1 of the plan seeks to revitalize Ruskin's Business Center along US 41, enhance the appearance of the district, and promote business growth that is compatible with its small town community. Goal 6 of the plan seeks to provide for a diversity of home styles and types while protecting Ruskin's small town character. The applicant seeks to develop affordable housing and a commercial retail use on the site, and the request will provide for business growth and diverse housing styles within the limits of the Ruskin Community Plan. Based upon the above considerations, Planning Commission staff finds the proposed plan development consistent with the future of Hillsborough Comprehensive Plan for unincorporated Hillsborough County, subject to conditions proposed by the Development Service Department. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, is there anyone here or online who wishes to speak as a proponent of this request, in support of this request? Don't see anyone. Is there anyone here or online who wishes to speak as an opponent in opposition to this request? All right, don't see anyone. Development Services, anything further?
Nothing further.
All right, applicant.
Madam Officer, I'm sorry if I may, Israel Monsanto Development Services. I will provide an updated staff report. There is a numbering in the conditions that needs to be corrected. There is a transportation condition number 6B, that make references to condition 4, and that instead of condition 4, it has to be condition 7. That's the only correction that's needed.
Okay, will we get a new, a revised report into the record?
Yes.
That I can use, please. Thank you.
Thanks.
All right, applicant, do you have anything further? Okay. That will close the hearing then on rezoning 21-0551.
The next item, item D4, rezoning PD 21-0554. The apps are Frederick and Barbara Patrick. The request is reserved from AR to Plan Development. Stephen Beachy with county staff will provide staff recommendation after presentation by the applicant.
Thanks, Brian. Good evening, Madam Hearing Master. Tyler Hudson, 400 North Ashley Drive. I'm here on behalf of the applicant. Thank you. With us here virtually this evening is Donna Wetzel with the Walsh Group, who is the contract purchaser for this property. The Walsh Group is one of the largest construction companies in the U.S., primarily a road builder, and we'll get to that point in 1 second. Also virtually is Todd Amidon with Landmark, who's the civil engineer, and then with me here in person is Michael Yates with Palm Traffic, who's our traffic engineer. I said that about an earlier project that I had this evening that you could sum it up in one word. I think the 3 words for this project would probably be Howard Franklin Bridge. I think sometimes we can get very in the weeds about specific development applications, and sometimes we're not really sure why is the applicant actually here. The reason why this applicant is here is because the Walsh Group is one of the contract parties to handle the massive Howard Franklin Bridge reconstruction, in addition to other interstate related projects throughout the state of Florida. Those projects entail the forward deployment months and months ahead of time of massive amounts of construction equipment. And the stubborn fact is that construction equipment has to have somewhere to go. And in this real estate market, and with tremendous demand for industrial properties, it is sometimes challenging to find appropriate places. But we believe that we have found just that in this project, and I'll explain why here this evening. Just to give a brief background of how we got here. This is a fairly standard application. We filed back in March of 2021. There was a lot of back and forth about wetlands, as I'll show on the site plan. Of course, many sites, I'd say maybe most sites in Hillsborough County certainly have some wetlands presence. What makes this one a little bit unusual is the size of the wetland impacts and the fact that they actually do cut through and bisect the site in some ways. So there was a lot of back and forth about making sure that our site plan was able to be responsive and limit impacts to those wetlands, which I'm happy to say we are able to do. We did continue back in June of 2021 to address an issue where we actually proposed a smaller piece of the parcel for the rezoning. There was some back and forth about whether that would have the effect of the residual parcel being non-conforming. So we have filed the entire folio is the subject of this application, and that's pertinent for a reason that I'll get into a little bit later. Let's orient where we're talking about. You're looking north, and that's Interstate 75. The road that goes to the east there is Hillsborough Avenue. I stand corrected, there are actually 2 parcels total for 16 acres. The entirety of both of those folios are the subject of this PD application. Right in front, there's a liner road that's between the interstate in that orange shape. That's Anna Drive. That's an FDOT road. It is fairly narrow. It is substandard, like many roads in Hillsborough County, and it is not one, and Michael can speak to this in greater detail, it is not one that can accommodate a significant amount of intensive, high trip generating traffic. And that is why open storage as a very passive use, in our view, is an appropriate use. The site is currently vacant. Apologies for this slightly crude picture. This is from the site actually 2 days ago. And what you can see on the left there is the off-ramp for Interstate 75. And the arrow points to what's a fairly large clearing. That is the site now. And I'm showing this picture to emphasize just how close this site is to Interstate 75. And fairly how narrow Anna Drive is and perhaps challenging for a high intensity commercial residential office type product that UMU 20 might lead one to believe is appropriate. Open storage is a very pervasive use in this part of Hillsborough County. Just at the southeast corner of the intersection that we are near is, I believe it's called Stein's Auto Graveyard. There are multiple open storage establishments throughout this area, some of which are specifically for construction equipment as well. You can see in the northwest quadrant of this intersection of Hillsborough and 75, there is a construction equipment storage company that's relatively similar to us in terms of its depth from Hillsborough and its proximity to a major kind of spur of the off-ramp. The development proposal, I say here on the bullet points, it's 2 phases. Phases is perhaps not the right word to use. Options is a better word to use. And the reason why we have 2 options is a little bit backwards. The first option and the intent and what we urgently need to get approved to pull permits for in order to accommodate the significant amount of construction equipment is for open storage. And working with the transportation department, and Michael can attest to this, open storage is a tough thing from an ITE perspective to figure out trip generation for, because the goal of this real world is that there will maybe some parking for folks who are dropping off equipment, but that this is not an actively conducted business and there's certainly no customers. This is a private establishment. It's private open storage. So James Ratliff and Michael agreed that the quote worst case scenario from a traffic generation standpoint would probably be akin to a self-storage warehouse type use. Given that our traffic analysis was predicated on that worst case scenario, which again is not the immediate development intent, the thought was, if that's what our traffic analysis says, from a property ownership standpoint, we might as well entitle that as a second option 2 with a separate, completely separate site plan. So that is part of the PD before you, but that is not the initial intent or really medium-term intent for the use of this project. This was a little bit backwards again, in the sense that since we studied it from a traffic analysis trip generation standpoint, we thought it appropriate to include that as a independent, separate use in a different option, different layout, different site plan that nonetheless is part of the same application. I'll touch briefly on that phase 2. It comprises 2 storage buildings, one on the western and one on the eastern side of the property. Per sort of standard for these things, there's not a whole lot of detail for something like a self-storage building. It's 2 rectangles. We're proposing 2 stories for each. I think what's probably most important for this slide here is the fact that there's 4.62 acres, and we are able to avoid impact to all but 0.06 acres. And what that 0.06 is a stream crossing, because as I'll show in a second, there is a wetland ribbon that bisects the site, which creates a little bit of a challenge from a development standpoint. The glare is a little intense on, or at least from my perspective on that screen, but I think this is a fairly nice view as well. That's where the property is. And I think that reiterates again, just the proximity to Interstate 75. And another reason to show this is laying the groundwork for something I'm going to discuss in a little bit about what else would go here and what else could go there. So in terms of inconsistencies, development services, and again, I want to be very clear about not misleading about this. Development services does not have any independent, I think, opposition to this application, save for the Planning Commission's finding of inconsistency based on the 19.1 mixed use requirement, which I'm going to talk about at not laborious length, but at length in a second, because I think that's really the central part of this application. Transportation, consistent, EPC, natural resources, utilities, FDOT. We've had to work with FDOT, despite this being such a small road, because it is their road. We've proposed, and they have, I think, tentatively agreed, tentatively signed off on the concept of us doing some shoulder improvements that are at that intersection of Hillsborough, US 92, and I-75. So those conversations have been proceeding for quite some time now. So I don't want to say that they find us consistent, but we've had nothing, I would say, but a positive result to fairly lengthy conversations with them, given that this is their domain. So that's the question for this application, is whether this project should be mixed use. Does the comprehensive plan require that this project be mixed use? And does the policy that requires that 19.1 even apply to this property? And for the reasons that I'm going to describe now, and I'll be introducing into the record a memorandum that explains our justification for this, I think the answer is no. And here's why. The first reason is a fairly bare inconsistency in the language of the comprehensive plan itself. On page 233 of the comprehensive plan, that section that we all look at all the time that has the single page future land use element map designation category explanations one by one. UMU 20, it says, and I quote, that projects that are 20 projects, and that's a keyword too, projects that are 20 acres or greater must have a mix of uses in compliance with 19.1. Then you go into policy 19.1, and that articulates a different standard for UMU 20 properties. It says 10 acres. That is an inconsistency, and it happens in a document this large, this detailed. Inconsistencies are bound to happen. But from a legal perspective, there's certainly a vein of jurisprudence, which Madam Hearing Master was well aware of, that zoning regulations being in derogation of property rights and inconsistencies, I think, should be resolved in favor of the property owner, probably in favor of what I think is the most realistic interpretation, that the UMU 20, the 20 acres has some meaning. But that inconsistency, I think, is a problem based on how the code is written. Our project, all folios included, is a little bit over 16 acres. So it's our belief that that inconsistency should be resolved in favor of our interpretation, which that policy 19.1 does not apply to us at all. But that's not all. As mentioned in the memo that I will send in, it's quite short, there's an inconsistency about whether we're talking about projects that are 20 acres or 10 acres versus properties that are 10 acres or 20 acres. This is one of the things that caused a little bit of a delay for us. We are not developing 10 acres. The land encompasses 16 all in. However, our actual developable area, meaning buffers, include the setback areas, that's just under 10. It's 9.99. That's very close, and it was meticulously designed that way for a reason. However, the gravel area, the area where there are actually going to be impacts, that's over 6 acres. That is far less than the 10 acres. And we had a fair amount of back and forth with the Planning Commission on this, and we weren't able to get to a place of agreement, obviously. I appreciate their willingness to have an open mind and to listen, but there was a general thought that it's based on the folio. That's really all that matters. And there's really no, I think, support for that in the Land Development Code. And again, on page 233, where you see the UMU 20 specifics articulated, it says projects that are 20 acres or more. This project is not 20 acres. It's not 10 acres either. It bears repeating. That's why we believe policy 19.1 does not apply at all. But even if policy 19.1 does apply, it includes an exemption for projects that are within half a mile of a community activity center and which either have independent mixed use standards or are industrial. This project is located, if you'll see on screen, and again, this is included in the material, one of the seventh bullet point under community activity centers is Hillsborough Avenue and I-75. Our project is 0.17 miles from that intersection. But that's not all. The question is whether this project has independent mixed use standards, or this area does, or is industrial. And I would maintain that open storage for construction vehicles is an industrial use. it is not defined, the term industrial is not defined in the comprehensive plan. But it's our argument that is industrial use for want of a superior alternative. Because in policy 19.1, when they list out the various mix of uses that you can develop, it's not residential. Don't believe it's commercial. It's not office. Industrial, we believe, is the most appropriate designation for a project like this. But before I move on, one point I want to make too, again, just zooming out a little bit and getting out of the text. There are significant wetlands that I'll show here. Does that shading show up okay?
I'm sorry?
Does that shading show up okay on your screen? Okay.
I can see it.
So as you can see, there are significant wetland issues. Anna Drive is a substandard, I would say barely 2-lane road. The mixed use requirement in policy 19.1 says that 10% of the building square footage for the primary use shall be allocated to a secondary use. For open storage as the primary use, what is the building square footage? Even if we were to have a building square footage, the amount of, and bear in mind, we could go to a 1.0 FAR here. So if we were developing the gravel area into a building, you're talking about, 250, almost 250,000 square feet. This land cannot support that. The road cannot support that. And from a, dare say, I think kind of common sense, this is zooming out a little bit, practicality standpoint. This is not a piece of property that is appropriate for any type of intensive commercial use. Now, if UMU 20 were as consistent as perhaps it could be, or bereft of some of the exemptions which it has, then perhaps a comprehensive plan amendment would be the more appropriate application before the commission. But that's not the case. Policy 19.1 is replete with inconsistencies and exemptions, both of which favor a recommendation of approval of this application. With that, I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have, and I thank you for your time.
All right. Were you able to finish your presentation then?
Yes.
Okay. So just to clarify then, your argument, at least part of it, is that the language comparing policy 19.1 and the description of the future land use UMU 20, they're inconsistent with each other, and that creates an ambiguity.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And
I would just note, just briefly, in two respects, both as to the threshold in terms of acreage and also an ambiguity as to whether it's about the property size or the project itself.
And that's not clear in the comprehensive plan. And so is there any development planned on this property, or is it just you're going to be parking big equipment there?
That is exactly the intent for this phase one. And as to the option two, again, that was really a somewhat backwards proposal because our traffic analysis is predicated around mini warehouse because, again, open storage wasn't possible. And if staff and others feel that is unwelcome, my client is focused 100% on this open storage. And if there is any trepidation at all about the self-storage, we would be willing to remove that phase two. Again, we think it's appropriate because that's what all of our traffic analysis and the transportation department's finding of consistency is based on. But if there is concern about that, that is not the focus. The focus is this is a private piece of ground to store construction vehicles that are integral to the rehabilitation of the Howard Franklin Bridge.
And the storage is intended to be indefinite in terms of how long? I mean, this is not a temporary endeavor, right?
No, ma'am, it's not temporary. I mean, that construction project will come to an end at some point. And if there is a way to perhaps tie a duration to the completion of the project, I think there may be some openness to that. But at this point, as you can imagine, it's challenging to determine when that construction will ultimately conclude. Certainly there are projections and budgets, but I would not feel comfortable representing to you that those are something that we could rely on for a development condition.
But the self-storage, I mean, the storage units.
Yes.
This is a potential use in the future.
That is a potential use in the future that stems entirely from the fact that that's what our traffic analysis says the project is going to be. But that is not our intent. That wasn't I wouldn't say an accommodation. That was a compromise or a solution crafted by Michael and James, because sheer open storage doesn't have a building. It's also, in the same vein, difficult to figure out the trip generation for something like that. It's certainly not customer facing, and that is one potential development condition. That, I mean, this is intended for private open storage. This is not a situation where you can rent a space.
Okay, I understand. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
All right. All right, development services, please.
Good evening, Steve Beachy, Development Services. The applicant is requesting to rezone from AR to planned development. The subject parcel is located on Anna Drive, approximately 1/10 of a mile from the intersection of US 92 and Anna Drive, and adjacent to the northbound exit ramp of Interstate 75 to the eastbound I-4. The property associated with 210554 has a future land use designation of UMU 20, which carries a maximum density of 20 units per acre, non-residential intensities of up to 1.0 FAR. Nearby flu categories include a CMU 12 to the north and west, a Res 9 to the east, and the remainder of the surrounding parcels share the UMU 20 plan designation with the subject parcel. The surrounding zoning development pattern consists of a mix of a variety of different zoning patterns. To the north is AS1 and planned development, which has office and commercial uses. It appears to be a car sales use there, which could be considered open storage, but is more of a commercial use. The south is AR, a cell tower, and a multifamily residential mobile home. To the west is AR with residential uses, and to the east is a PD approved for multifamily residential, and it is vacant currently. The applicant is requesting a variation to the Land Development Code to modify the screening measures from masonry wall as required with a type C buffer to PVC fencing. The site plan is, as indicated, is presented in 2 phases. The first phase is open storage. The phase 2 is proposal for a PD, includes many warehouse uses as indicated on the site plan, totaling over 205,000 square feet. The second use on the site, as required under the UMU comp plan designation, is not proposed by the applicant. This decision to not include a second use results in our recommendation of non-support. Therefore, no conditions of approval are provided. I would note that Natural Resources has indicated that for the second phase, which we know was created for traffic purposes, is the site plan does show buildings that may encroach in the 30-foot wetland setback. I'll share my screen to show you where that's located, but I'm sure that can be tweaked. Can you see it?
No, we don't see your screen.
Okay. Well, let's see. How about that?
Nope.
Nothing yet.
Okay. Well, the site plan for phase 2 is in the staff report, and again, those are minor encroachments that could be tweaked if needed. So that again, our recommendation is non-support due to the not complying with the second use, and that concludes my comments. I'm available for any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Beachy. All right, we'll hear from Planning Commission.
Andrea Pappendrew, Planning Commission staff. The subject property is within the urban mixed use 20 future land use category. It is within the urban service area and is located within the Stephanie Mango Community Plan. Phase 1 of the development is open storage, and phase 2 will construct 2 buildings for open storage and mini warehousing. The proposed buildings will be developed in phase 2. Development within the UMU 20 category can be considered for up to 1.0 FAR. Density and FAR calculations for properties that include wetlands will need to comply with the calculations and requirements of policy 13.3 the environmentally sensitive land credit for determining density and intensity credits. Based on this policy, approximately 11.2 upland acres are available for the wetland credit, totaling 14 acres. For the 14 acres, the maximum intensity of 609,840 square feet is permitted on site. The applicant is proposing 2 buildings in phase 2 for a total of 205,412 square feet and a 0.34 FAR, which is well below the density and intensity permitted on site. Future land use element objective 19 outlines the intent of all mixed use categories in the comprehensive plan. Policy 19.1 states that requirements for 2 land uses will apply to properties 10 acres or greater in the RMU 35, UMU 20, CMU 12 land use categories, and the properties 20 acres or greater in SMU 6 and NMU 4 land use categories.
I believe you froze there.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, it looks like it cleaned up. You might want to turn off your camera. It might be able to keep the audio.
I will try that. Is that better?
Yes, it seems like it may have cleared up.
Okay, thank you. Per policy 19.1, at least 10% of the total square footage of the building must be designated for a second use. The applicant is not proposing a secondary use that meets the requirements of policy 19.1. A mixed-use project can develop with the following uses: retail, commercial, office, light industrial, residential support uses, and civic uses. The applicant states that the site meets the exemption stated in policy 19.1, as it is located in the Hillsborough Avenue and I-75 Community Activity Center area, and is exclusively industrial. Per the exemption listed in policy 19.1, the mixed-use requirements do not apply within a half mile of an identified community activity center if other mixed-use standards have been adopted for that area, or when the project is exclusively industrial. The future land use element defines community activity centers as locations emphasizing a focal point for neighborhoods that will include a variety of public facilities and land use services, including commercial, office, viable residential neighborhoods, and redevelopment of areas for higher intensity uses. In addition, these activity centers are locations for existing and future major regional employment clusters. While the Hillsborough Avenue and I-75 area is identified as a community activity center, the proposed project does not meet the intent of a community activity center by providing a high-intensity land use or providing significant employment. In addition, this part of policy 19.1 only applies to projects that utilize mixed-use standards or are exclusively industrial. The proposed project is not in an area with adopted mixed-use standards. The industrial uses definition in the comprehensive plan reads as follows: activities within land areas predominantly connected with manufacturing, assembly, processing, or storage of products. Storage of products is intended to be for an enclosed use, such as a main warehouse use for inventory. The proposed project is for open storage in phase 1 and mini warehousing for construction materials in phase 2. Typically, open storage of materials is considered accessory to a principal use, but not necessarily as a principal industrial use. The Euclidean zoning district typically associated with open storage is commercial intensive. Planning Commission staff acknowledges the definition of industrial within the definition section of
I think we lost you there, Ken.
Apologies for that. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Thank you. Planning Commission staff acknowledges that the definition of industrial within the definition section of the comprehensive plan does include the language storage of products, and is not explicitly stated that the storage of products is required within a building. However, when reading the intent of the activity center language and the future land use element, in conjunction with the definition of industrial in the definition section of the comprehensive plan, the proposed outdoor storage of construction materials is not a predominant use associated with manufacturing, assembly, processing, or any other industrial use associated with job creation or significant employment. While the applicant is within a community activity center, the proposed open storage use does not meet the intent of a community activity center. Therefore, the proposed plan development does not meet the exemption stated in policy 19.1 and is inconsistent with the comprehensive plan. As part of the proposed phase 2, one of the proposed open storage mini warehouse buildings will be located immediately adjacent to existing single-family residential homes. As policy 1.4 states, compatibility does not remain the same as, rather refers to the sensitivity of development proposals and maintain the character of existing development. The applicant has proposed a 30-foot buffer and type C screening with a PVC fence as required per the Land Development Code. The applicant has also proposed to lower the building height to 25 feet. The subject site is directly west of Interstate 75 and East Hillsborough Avenue interchange. Objective 34 encourages urban level intensities and mixed-use patterns of development in the Interstate 75 corridor. Policy 36.5 states that quality employment centers for office and industrial shall be provided in mixed-use categories. The proposed open storage and mini warehousing use does not provide for urban level intensities or quality employment opportunities within the UMU 20 future land use category. The subject site is not consistent with objectives 34 and 36 and is inconsistent with the comprehensive plan. This site is located within the limits of the Seffner Mango Community Plan. Goal 3 of the community plan states that commercial development should be directed to the US 92 and Martin Luther King Boulevard corridors. The site has access to US Highway 92 through Anna Drive. Goal 3, establish an overlay district along US 92 to address site development appearance aspects such as signage, landscaping, parking, street design, stormwater facilities, height, bulk, design, and placement. The applicant has stated these aspects will be addressed during the permitting process. And then lastly, goals 3 and 5 require new development to provide sidewalks. The proposed development will construct a 5-foot sidewalk on Anna Drive throughout the length of the site. Based on this, the site is consistent with the Seffner Mango Community Plan. Overall, Planning Commission staff find that the proposed rezoning.
I think we may have lost you there again for the last second.
Apologies for this. Overall, Planning Commission staff find that the proposed rezoning from agricultural rural to plain development is inconsistent with the comprehensive plan as it does not meet the mixed use standards of SLU policy 19.1 or the Interstate 75 corridor objectives 34 and 36. Based upon the above considerations, Planning Commission staff finds the proposed plan development inconsistent with the future of Hillsborough comprehensive plan for unincorporated Hillsborough County. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, is there anyone in present tonight or online who wishes to speak in support of this application? New proponents? All right, anyone in the room or online tonight who wishes to speak in opposition to this application? All right, none. Development Services, do you have anything else?
Nothing further.
All right, and applicant?
Tyler Hudson, 400 North Ashley Drive. I'd like to take on 3 things. First, on the wetlands issue, we think there may be some confusion on that point. I think the stakes are relatively low because, as Steve alluded to, it could be corrected quickly. Todd Amadon is on the line. If we could bring him up to discuss that. It's our position that the latest plan, there are no impacts to the wetlands in phase 2. Todd, can you touch on that very briefly?
Absolutely. In working with staff, this site plan underwent several iterations.
Sir, can you identify yourself for the record?
Todd Amadon, Landmark Engineering, 8515 Palm River Road in Tampa.
Thank you. Go ahead, please.
Thank you. So in working with staff, the site plan underwent several iterations and ideas. And as Mr. Beachy offered, it was not the intent to have a wetland setback impact, and that'll be mitigated before we submit the final certified plan.
Great. Thanks, Todd. Next, I want to go through this issue about the community activity centers and industrial use, because I think we're a little bit through the looking glass when we were saying that storage of products is not what we're proposing with open storage. There are a lot of references in Planning Commission's position on intent, this mysterious hidden intent that we have been unable to identify. The notion that the community activity center, this project doesn't meet the quote intent, but no references to planning commission provisions are stated. And of course, it's a malleable instrument, the comprehensive plan. It is not a technical code listing. However, it says these are community activity centers, and the seventh bullet is the intersection that's less than 0.2 of a mile from our location. We have to be a half a mile. There's no question based on what the literal words say in the comprehensive plan that we meet that prong. Secondarily, on the industrial portion, industrial isn't defined. Industrial uses as a cluster is defined, and Andrea did mention those. And again, storage of products. But we find out, no, we don't know, that doesn't apply to us because the intent is that it is meant for enclosed environments. That would have been a very easy distinction to make, but it doesn't say that. It says storage of products. That's exactly what we were talking about. And I'll put on the record here that we will withdraw the option 2, because that is an area that is candidly more ambiguous. But there is no question that open storage is an industrial use based on the very language of the comprehensive plan. And before I conclude, I'd like Michael to come up and briefly discuss how the ITE looks at this and how that bears in your discussion, in your analysis.
Before you do that, this is storage of equipment, as I understand it.
Yes, ma'am.
And that equipment is being stored because it's being used to do work elsewhere.
Yes, that's ma'am. It is equipment that is being put in service of industry, which is rebuilding a bridge.
Okay. So products are usually things for sale.
Mm-hmm.
So is this really storage of products?
I believe so. I think breaking that further down, I mean, for these things, these are things that could be sold. These are things that could be leased. I see where you're going with that. And I appreciate the question. I'm not sure what else it would say. Storage of objects, perhaps, but storage of products is what these are. They're things that we perhaps have bought, that we are going to sell, that they're under some type of lease arrangement, that there's a license period. The actual commercial arrangement is something that is beyond my understanding of the full scope of the proposal. And I think candidly a little bit outside of the scope of that portion. But again, recall that the community activity center exemption only comes into play if we think that 19.1 applies to this project. And I think even stronger than the community activity center exemption, which does require some leaps of interpretation about 6 layers down, the inconsistencies alone, the bare inconsistencies in the language of the comprehensive plan, I think undermines the argument that this even applies. But before parting, I'd like just Michael real quick to talk a little bit about industrial.
Mm-hmm.
Good evening, Michael Yates with Palm Traffic, and I have been sworn. I just wanted to bring up that the ITE definitions for any of the 150 categories, 100 categories is industrial. So that includes mini warehouse, general light industrial, warehousing. And so when we did our analysis, we used for the open storage, we did 150, which is warehousing. And it just was based on employees rather than square footage.
Mm-hmm.
But they're all within the industrial category.
Mm-hmm.
IITE.
Thank you.
Thanks, Michael. And then in summary conclusion, this project has been deemed as consistent or like approvable in a multitude of respects. It has not been deemed supportable in one very limited condition. Sorry, is my time up?
You have 1 minute.
Oh, sorry, thanks. The limited circumstance that this was found not supportable is about the application of 19.1. Reality and the practicalities of this piece of land and its location augur against any mixed use here. It's covered in wetlands. It's facing Interstate 75 on a substandard road. If you could find a piece of land that is perfect for open storage in this insane real estate environment, it is this piece of land right here. Second, this mixed use is being driven from a policy 19.1 that has severe defects in its application to a project that is under 10 acres, which is what this is. If we were a 20-acre development project, I would not be here making these claims. I would get laughed out of the room justifiably. But 19.1 by its face does not apply to this case. And if you do find, Madam Hearing Master, that it does apply, We believe that the community activity center exemption is crystal clear. It applies to Hillsborough and I-75. We're within the location. Planning Commission does not dispute that. Storage of products as being an industrial use, products are being stored. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. All right, so that closes the hearing on item 21-0554. And we're going to take a quick break. So we're going to recess for about 7 minutes, and then we'll reconvene.
You're not.
All right, welcome back. We'll reconvene our July 26, 2021 zoning hearing master meeting. And Mr. Grady, call the next case, please.
The next item is agenda item D5, major mod application 21-0562. The applicant is Nick Dittman, Steiger Site Preparations Incorporated. The request is for a major modification of existing plan development. Kevin DeFrank will provide staff recommendation after presentation by the applicant.
So before we go forward, Mr. Grady, would you, okay, never mind. I'm looking at the wrong case number. This is 21-0562. Thank you.
Correct.
All right, applicant.
There we go. Good evening, Madam Zoning Hearing Master. My name is Chris McNeil, McNeil Engineering, on behalf of the applicant, address 15957 North Florida Avenue in Lutz, Florida. The project that we are proposing tonight is for the Steger office. It is, how do I change for the next slide? Next slide, please. You go back one. There you go. Perfect. The site is located just south of Newburger Road and north of the Lutz Cemetery on the east side of 41. It's slightly less than 1.5 acres. Next slide, please. This commercial area, or this commercial site, is in a small commercial area. It's kind of unique to Lutz. It's been in this development configuration for more than 25 years. Next slide, please. This is a picture looking to the east at the front. You can see both neighbors. You might even be familiar with this area, but the site location is in the middle. And again, these buildings have been there for quite some time. Next slide, please. This is just a reference that we're showing you that we're in between two PD areas. The south one notably is from 75, and the other ones are more recent, but again, longstanding commercial area. Next slide, please. In 2018, this current site was developed was formed into this PD with very specific conditions related to medical mobility uses and serving retail, domestic vehicle sales, and repair of those mobility vehicles. So very, very unique zoning. Next slide, please. Previously in 2004, this is the PD to the north. This is much more what we're trying to do at this point for the subject site. It has a variety of uses and much more easier to conform with for uses current and in the future. We mimic these uses for our proposed uses and tried to match up with them to a harmonious use in the area, again, both now and in the future. So next slide, please. This is a picture of our proposed site plan, which is option one, which is very much is the existing improvements. The proposed improvements the existing improvements are really to be used for the proposed use, which is the immediate uses for a contractor's office with no open storage. They would need to build some areas potentially to provide the enclosed storage in the rear. But the existing building being recycled and repurposed is a great fit for the site. So in working with traffic and FDOT, the proposed trips are less than or equal to 71 average daily trips for this particular option, which includes the other uses that we're proposing, but triggered by that particular trip generation. We've also asked for an increase to the FAR to the 0.25, trying to, again, make the best use of this small, unique commercial area within Lutz. The existing building, again, that is proposed to be repurposed for option one is 2,892 square feet, and with the addition of being able to go to just over 16,000. Next slide, please. For an option two, to try to provide options, again, both now and in the future, in working with DOT and traffic, if the trip generation is greater than 71 ADT for any of the proposed uses, we would need to eliminate the driveway configuration, which currently exists in a in on the south, out on the north, to a consolidated driveway, which has been determined to be located on the south. Cross access is being provided in both of the options. Next slide, please. As part of the efficiency of this site, and you can tell from the aerials and from this photo that it's very tight. The site is very skinny, it's long in nature, and so as it was originally used, they have a driveway that comes in again on the south and goes along the south side of the building to the back. So as part of this request, we're asking for a PD variation from that buffer of 15 feet to the south, which is almost a technicality because they're very similar uses of what's being proposed, but it does generate a need for a 15-on-6 by the buffer matrix. In this case, it's more self-waiving, and so we're asking for a request to leave that as existing. If it was to be implemented, we would have to lose that drive and part of the building to accommodate it, and eliminating the efficiency of being able to repurpose. So, as next slide, please. Also, as part of that, we have both neighbors to the north and to the south, providing support for not only the request for the case, but also for the PD variation on the buffering. And with that, I'll take any questions.
Don't have any for you right now. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, development services, please.
Good evening. Kevin DeFrank here with Development Services. Going to share my screen.
Mr. McNeil.
Mr. McNeil.
Thank you.
Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Awesome. Alrighty, so as the applicant stated, the request is for a major modification to the existing PD 18-0989 to be entitled for several BPO type and CG type uses, and they also propose prohibited uses. The subject property is located at 19309 North 41 Highway, Lutz, Florida, within the Lutz rural area, which is on the northeast side of the Lake Hobbs Road and North US Highway 41 intersection. And the subject property has a flu designation of Res 1, and within the Res 1 flu category, the maximum FAR is 0.25, and the nearby flu category to the south is Res 6. The subject property is adjacent to property zone PD to the north and south, as the applicant stated. But within the general area, there are property zone ASC1 to the north and southeast, BPO to the south, and RSC6 to the west. And the property is also located in an area comprised of industrial and high-intensive commercial uses, especially within the immediate area, considering the two adjacent properties to the north and south, Zone PD. Now, the proposed project presents two options, as the applicant stated, where the first option involves the utilization of the existing building for the immediate use contractor's office. And the second option is the total redevelopment of the site, where the proposed permitted uses are allowed within both options, and the maximum building area is 16,117 square feet for both options, meeting the FLU's maximum FAR. And both options are subject to the Lutz Rural Area Development Standards, considering the fact that the subject property is within the Lutz Rural Area. And based on the Res 1 flu category, the surrounding and development pattern, and the proposed uses development standards for the PD zoning district, staff finds the request approvable, subject to the conditions listed in the report. And that concludes my presentation, and I'm available for questions.
Thank you, Mr. DeFrank. All right, we'll hear from Planning Commission, please.
Andrew Andrea Pappendrew, Planning Commission staff. I'm going to turn off my video due to internet issues. The subject property is within the residential 1 future land use category, is within the rural service area, and is located within the Lutz community plan. The subject site is designated residential 1, the future land use map. The intent of residential 1 is to designate areas for rural residential uses compatible with short-term agricultural uses. Other uses, including rural scale neighborhood commercial, office, and multi-purpose projects may be permitted when complying with the goals, objectives, and policies of the future land use element. The proposed uses are consistent with the intent of the residential 1 future land use category and comply with the applicable development regulations and conform to established locational criteria. Rural scale neighborhood commercial and office multi-purpose projects are limited to 30,000 square feet or 0.25 FAR. The proposed project will be built with a maximum of up to 16,117 square feet, which is consistent with the intent of the rural scale commercial development. The subject site is located within the limits of the Lutz community plan. The Lutz community plan desires to retain existing and encourage new commercial uses geared to serve the daily needs of area residents in a scale and design that complements the character of the community. The project site is located within one of the noted activity nodes outlined in the plan. Though Newburger Road is technically not a roadway that is on the 2040 cost affordable map, it is listed as a roadway in the Lutz community plan where commercial development is desired. Therefore, the request meets the intent of the Lutz community plan. The proposed project is surrounded by light commercial, light industrial, single-family residential, and agricultural uses, and the proposed uses and design meet the intent of the Lutz community plan. Based upon the above considerations, Planning Commission staff finds the proposed major modification consistent with the future of Hillsborough Comprehensive Plan for unincorporated Hillsborough County, subject to the conditions proposed by the Development Services Department. Thank you.
All right, is there anyone here? Is there anyone here in the room tonight or online who wishes to speak in support of this item? All right, is there anyone here in the room tonight or online who wishes to speak in opposition to this item? Don't see anyone. All right, Development Services, anything further?
I would just note that we did hand out a revision of the staff report. We modified the condition regarding the wording of the provision regarding buffering and screening, applying to the different phases. So we modified that wording. I just want to note that for the record.
Thank you. Does the applicant have anything further?
No, ma'am, nothing in detail further except to say that the conditions are acceptable as they have been rewritten, and also to let you know that the client is here, longstanding member of Lutz in the community, and very thankful for the opportunity to be here and to be continued part of the community.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
That will close then the hearing on item 21-0562.
The final item on tonight's agenda is agenda item D6, rezoning PD 21-0748. The applicant is North Star Tampico Medical Group. The request is to rezone from SPIUC to planned development. I believe the applicant is going to make a brief statement regarding the request, and it's, I think, wanting to seek a continuance. So I'll let them speak to that.
Yes, hello, Elise Batzel with Stearns Weaver Miller, 401 East Jackson. Madam Karen Master, we have experienced a slight hiccup with the plan. Our architects are trying to guarantee to us that they can actually fit the required parking that we have promised on the site plan physically into the building as they lay out the building, and that's just become a little difficult. And so we would ask for a continuance to August 16th in order to just get that confirmation from them. We do expect to have that in the next few days, but unfortunately we weren't able to get that before this evening.
Ms. Batzel, could you briefly describe what the request is for the record?
Yes, we would request a continuance.
Use request, what you're requesting.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely. It's a request for a student housing project of up to 620 beds. The county typically uses a standard in the past of 0.81 parking spaces per unit. And so that's the issue that we're grappling with. And this did just come up, unfortunately.
Okay.
Madam Hearing Officer, and since they're asking for a continuance to August 16th, it would be appropriate to see if there's any persons in the audience or online that wishes to speak and provide testimony now on the application so that they would not need to return on the 16th if this were to be continued. So it'd be appropriate to see if there's anyone wishing to speak for or against this application.
Okay, Mr. Grady. All right, then we'll open this hearing up to if there's anyone in the room tonight or online who wishes to speak, first of all, as a proponent in support of this item. Don't see anyone. All right, is there anyone here in the room tonight or online who wishes to speak in opposition to this item? All right, don't hear anyone.
Yeah, based on that, Madam Hearing Officer, you certainly can act on the request to continue to August 16th if you'd like.
All right, we'll grant that request. And then this item 21-0748 is continued to the August 16th zoning hearing master meeting.
We appreciate your consideration of the request.
Thank you. Did you see, please sign in with the clerk. Thank you.
And that concludes the agenda, Madam Hearing Officer.
All right, that concludes the zoning hearing master meeting tonight. We're adjourned.